Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I'm not going to talk about this book right here. This is the graphic novel of Captain America, Winter Soldier, and one that has had a big impact in the Marvel universe, as well as in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What I'm going to talk about here is this is one of the things that writer Ed Brubaker is best known for. And I'm not going to talk about that because I want to talk about this book right here. And this is Lowlife, number 2 from 1991, Caliber Press. Written and drawn by Ed Brubaker. Yeah, this is over 30 years old when Ed Brubaker was still just a young fella and doing some alternative comics. Just getting into the field. I was surprised when I first heard about the mainstream superhero stuff that he was writing and going, Ed Brubaker? Oh, that just didn't sound like him. Because way back then, I had gotten several issues of Lowlife. I don't remember how many there were in total. It started at Caliber Press and then moved over to another publisher who now I can't remember what. And Lowlife was his autobiographical or semi-autobiographical series that he did, which was fairly common at that time. You still see some of them, but these type of alternative publishers doing this kind of stuff which came out of the tradition of the underground comics. You know, because Robert Crumb did a lot of stories that were autobiographical or semi-autobiographical in nature, and Spain Rodriguez did as well as several other cartoonists. Some of the women did stuff like that, and into the Weirdo magazine and the like. And of course, this is just issue number 2, and his Lowlife is crime. It says there, the true crime issue. And you notice, if you're familiar enough with it, it's he used the design, the basic cover design from the true crime or crime genre in general of comics from the late 40s and early 50s, most specifically the books done by EC Comics. Now, Ed Brubaker, he was born in 1966. He's an American comic book writer, cartoonist, and screenwriter who works primarily now in crime fiction. Because, yeah, he's been for some other alternative publishers today, has various series of crime-related books. He started his career writing and drawing his autobiographical series Lowlife, plus doing serials for Dark Horse Presents, and even prior to that, he had done some small stuff in some of the other alternative anthologies prior to this, which is probably how he got this series. But he got some notoriety, writing Scene of the Crime at Vertigo, which is a DC imprint, and then moving into mainstream superhero fare with like Batman and Catwoman, Captain America, Daredevil, and a whole bunch more. And he has a long-running working partnership with British artist Sean Phillips from a Batman Elseworlds story in 2001. And that relationship continues today to the present, and some of his most recent stuff is Kill or Be Killed and Others, some of the crime stuff. And he has even worked on Amazon TV series as executive producer and writer since 2019. So this boy has done pretty well for himself, and he's won all kinds of comic industry awards for his work. But this is where he started. This says for mature readers, but there's no real sex in it. It's all because of language, some violence, and drug use. So let's take a little closer look at Lowlife. And there, as you can see here with this cover, he is a competent artist. It is stylized, and his artwork is somewhat reminiscent of Chester Brown, but still a little distinct from it. And this is, of course, his book. He is good at decent at a consistent stylization. He's consistent on the faces and the figures, and decent backgrounds with the details and perspective. So I could not find anything regarding his education, because I was wanting to see if he had gone to an art school or other stuff, but I didn't find anything regarding that. I did find that a little added thing is that he was a Navy brat. I guess his father was a Navy intelligence officer, and he spent a good part of his childhood stationed at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, at the base there. So he was, and of course in Gitmo, they were all restricted specifically to the base because under Castro, they couldn't leave the base, and of course this was long before it was used as a prison for terrorists, and when it was actually a legitimate Navy base. So, let's take a look here. Lowlife by Ed Brubaker. Some interior cover. Number 2. Here it shows a life of crime. It has like a mug shot of him, and here shows him in jail. Then it goes back to the story of how he got there. And how much of this is reality and how much is embellished fiction, of course, I don't know. And this would have been when he was like in his early 20s, I imagine. Talk about some friends who like had got doing some small petty crime stuff, stealing some little stuff, shoplifting, and various things when he was a kid. And then he going out and partying with some friends and wanting to get some drugs. Here he was with a buddy of his, and they're wanting to get some drugs, but they don't have any money, and apparently they're like in between jobs, so want to get some drugs. And his buddy comes up with the idea of robbing this computer store, and they gives him a gun. Said he can't go. His friend can't go in because he's known there, but Ed, his character here is Tommy has never been there before, so the guy doesn't know him, and he's supposed to take in a gun. He's reluctant to do it with the gun. Goes back. Buddy goes in, holds the guy in the back holds a gun on him while his buddy steals a bunch of stuff. They sell it, get some money for some drugs. Their idea was to get some, then sell some of the drugs themselves to have more money for more drugs. And then they go to a party and they doing some drugs, getting high. A girl, not his girlfriend, but a friend of his who is a girl, but he has a big crush on. Kind of hears about the robbery and chastises him for it and for his drug use and everything. And his buddy is really not doing well either. And I can't get this page. And his buddy gets in a fight with his father, and the girl is really coming down hard on him, chastising him, and he's just being a loafer, hanging out, not doing much of anything. And another friend talks about how he had a job and he was stealing from the business until he decided he had to quit the job which he hated, so he would stop stealing because it was just too easy, and eventually he would get caught. So he had reformed, and he wants to reform, and then eventually his buddy gets in a fight. He pulls the gun, shoots the guy. He takes off, and his buddy is caught, spends some time in jail because he's underage and stuff, and he has involuntary manslaughter. Gets clean, makes some money in prison by teaching computer stuff to some of the other prisoners. Gives him an opportunity to clean himself up and move away when he gets out of jail and start a business, a decent, responsible business, while Tommy himself here has got caught for the armed robbery, but he got off pretty light, spent just a little time in jail. And then he has reformed. He doesn't do the drugs, and he got the girl in the end. And then it even has a letters page, because this was done probably on a quarterly basis, I think. And it shows the cover for number 3, coming in March. Ad for some other stuff, and you can see his artwork. I would like to see, because he's known as a writer in comics, and he doesn't draw the superhero stuff or the more adventurous stuff at all. I would like to see what his artwork would look like now. Is he keeping up with his skills, or has he just abandoned it entirely? Sometimes people start off as artists and get into the writing and don't keep up with their writing, with their art. And that is just our brief look into the low life of Ed Brubaker. He has decent, like I said, decent artwork, consistency, good background, some decent storytelling. Of course, the story is mostly being told in the captions in first person, but the visual stuff is working as well. So, what do you think of this early Ed Brubaker? This is when I was first introduced into him, and I always liked his stuff, and I was surprised that, well, I haven't seen any Ed Brubaker Lowlife in a long time, and I thought he was going to be along the lines of Chester Brown or Harvey Picar and just do this kind of stuff, but he moved to the mainstream and did very, very well for himself. So please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. What do you think of the low life of Ed Brubaker and his artwork and his writing? Because I like the guy. So here we are at the end. And remember, comics are art.